Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Let's Mod Warframe. Today we're going to take a look at the first melee weapon to be released into the game, back when the game went into closed beta, the Skana. Now the Skana is a single-handed sword that is pretty much the poster weapon for everything Warframe. All publicity shots with Excalibur include the Skana. But for a weapon that defines Warframe, is the Skana actually any good? Now the Skana is one of the weapons featured in the new tutorial in the game, Vor's Prize, and can be purchased as a blueprint off the market after the tutorial is over. It is, however, the only one of the weapons featured in the tutorial to need to actually be built, rather than just purchased straight off the market for credits. Now the Skana itself requires 3 Morphics, 1100 alloy plate, 500 plastids and 700 salvage, plus 15,000 credits to actually build, which is actually fairly expensive for a new player, although it does add an early goal if they want to try and build the Skana as their first melee weapon. Now the Skana comes with a fairly average base damage of 35, with the majority of that damage coming in as slash. The Skana however comes with effectively no crit chance, and only a reasonable status chance of 10%. However, it has one of the lowest attack speeds of any melee weapon in the game. Now the saving grace for the Skana comes in the form of the stance mods for it, helping to boost the damage enough to the point where the weapon becomes usable. There are 2 stances available for this weapon: Iron Phoenix, that doesn't match the polarity of the stance mod of the weapon, and Crimson Dervish, which does. Now while Iron Phoenix is a very solid stance, and arguably best for a lot of the one-handed swords, due to the attacks being very damaging against single opponents with combos that lead to a decent amount of multi-hit, plus all the combos that really don't affect the weapon's attack speed very much. However, for something that's as low damaging like the Skana, I would recommend using the Crimson Dervish stance. Now this is going to lower your attack speed of the weapon, and especially combined with Spoiled Strike, something I feel is required for this weapon, but the damage per strike with combining it with all of the other mods becomes actually pretty reasonable. So if you can get past the slower attack speed, this is actually not too bad a weapon. Okay, so let's start to mod the Skana. We're going to start with a Grineer build. We're going to start with Crimson Dervish as the stance mod, because it matches the polarity and will give you the max amount of mod space needed. Then we're going to go with Pressure Point, Fury, Spoiled Strike and Jagged Edge as your base damage mods. We're going to go with Molten Impact and Shocking Touch for radiation damage. And then we're going to go with Virulent Scourge and North Wind for viral damage against those Grineer units. Now for Corpus, we're going to go with Crimson Dervish with the stance again. Pressure Point, Fury, Spoiled Strike and Jagged Edge, and then going to go take Shocking Touch and North Wind for magnetic damage against the heavily shielded Corpus units, and Virulent Scourge and Fever Strike for that poison damage against the sort of fleshier units like your techs and your crewmen. Now for the Void, we're going to go with the Crimson Dervish again, Pressure Point, Fury, Spoiled Strike, Jagged Edge. We're going to go with Fever Strike, Shocking Touch and Virulent Scourge just for that max corrosive damage, and then we're going to put the Molten Impact on there as well. Okay, and now on to my recommendation as to whether I feel the Skana is worth picking up and using at all. And the answer to that is kind of a 2-part answer from me. As an already established player looking for a challenge when using a weapon that might not be one of the top few out there, the Skana can actually be pretty fun to use, and can go surprisingly much further than you would expect in Void missions. Personally, I was still melee only on Nyx at 40 minutes of a tier 2 Void survival, so this weapon is definitely usable, especially if you can get used to the short range that the Skana has and the rather slow attack speed. Now as a new player, I can't really recommend picking up this weapon. There are better weapons out there that you can get your hands on early. It's going to do you so much better than the Skana will. A couple of examples, this would be either the bow or something like the single Kama, which, while more expensive, both of these will be much more use to you than the Skana. Now the fact that I'm not recommending this to newer players shouldn't be read into that I don't like the Skana at all. Which, you know, far from it. I've had a lot of fun playing with this recently. It's just not suitable for people who have just started the game and trying to progress with this as their first melee. Now onto the subject of Forma, and personally I wouldn't put Forma on this weapon unless you have Forma to spare, that you have nothing else to put them on. To get the most out of this weapon, it does require a couple of Forma to try and fit the higher cost mods onto. Personally, I would save them for a melee weapon that you really like and think requires them, rather than putting them on the Skana. So in essence, the Skana is a fun weapon to use to have fun on the star map, but requires a little bit of work to get up to those higher level enemies. As always guys, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to leave a like and to subscribe, and I shall see you in the next episode.